faulty. Job was the Baptist, but Barabbas, malefactor, yeah, I was shot. The only nigga worthy of his actions while my neighbors mutilated. The laborers get a penny, but the outcome for the 12 try to serve it. Now I'm in your city cause the general sent me. Considering a gift has been a half a century. 400 years is still a penitentiary for Eric Gardner's life. Ain't he born for life? Coat, white t-shirt, blue jeans and Nikes. Nowadays you gotta wear skinny jeans to get rights. Not to mention all the pussy they poppin' to get likes. This is doomsday. Christ ain't interested in your cash. Soon as I get the order, I'm coming to kick your ass. Now you wanna run it back. Big mouth, Billy Bass, fill the blast with that extra heat. I do it to it expertly. You could call it destiny when really he requested me. Kick against the bricks, you better turn down and turn up. The heaven's all about to burn up. I'm talking about two in the field, but only one is gonna turn up. All you wanted was a rapture, the other ones get fucked. I'm talking 6 ways from Sunday, the body's gonna erupt. In the midst of this corruption, part of the interruption. Shit, I thought you were reverse surf code. I'm no deduction. We out to try to function, they out on a luncheon. That's the reason we serve spontaneous combustion. Reverse engineering, what you're hearing is a blueprint. That's why you get caught up in bullshit. I rebuke it, chucking up the deuces when I produce solutions. Woman, thou art bound, now the strong man is loosened. Law out of gag, you were swinging the flag. But it's a coward, it's a hard burden for that ass. We got a classic connection. I borrows from the past and like an everlast, punch it back, son. Just do the math. Your reporters on the other side, warriors got a class. Drilling the upper class, turning sinners from swindlers into triggers. When it comes to this fate, we the defenders, we the greatest to exist. Same time I ain't shit. Reverse psychology, I'm logically taking risks. I'm making hits, I'm a UPK hit, man. Leaning like a kickstand in poverty, I'm rich, man. Mobbing through the rich, man. Balling like a fist, man. White knuckle gripping, I'm holding to rigor mortis. One Western, you notice, there's no ulterior motives. Fully focused, fully goaded, with a lotus fire bar. Get it cracking, let a host of locusts devour the POTUS. Not a head of state, is in a day to stay fucking with Moses. The people that were chosen, our conversation ain't proven. We was hoping for a miracle, they laid the books open. Now we dosing, no emotion, maybe boasting. So we told for whatever threat they posing. IT, I'm writing coded. I'm Wolverine, they be loaded, they be roasted, I'm reloaded. It's a foster paradise for me, but not my man Corbin. Hell is open and launching it like an ocean. Now it's overflowing, flooding with judges, spitting her bubbles, they republished. But we the real Jews, they the copyright infringements. We the real niggas, they the copyright infringements. We the real wetbacks, they copyright infringements. Real savages, they the copyright infringements. Real Seminoles, they copyright infringements. Real West Indians, they copyright infringements. For real Puerto Ricans, they the copyright infringements. Real Nicaraguans, they the copyright infringements. Tucson, Lovato, they the copyright infringements. Colombia, Sunnia, they the copyright infringements. True rulers out of Cuba, they the copyright infringements. We gon' form your style of fuck the copyright infringements. We gon' groom your style of fuck the copyright infringement. We gon' groom your style of fuck the copyright infringement. We gon' groom your style of fuck the copyright infringements.
I got you. Let it vibe real quick. Look. The city eyes, it's time to folk off. Knock out a real nigga, cause he wasn't no flaw. Posted on the corner like a watchdog. Family secure, got that shot in the closet by the mob ball. Fuck what they heard, tell them it's all true. Be cautious, that foundation falls till you fall through. They gon' fall. Look, I kick this shit 50 times 2. Ain't no more heart in this game, I'm John Q. Colder than an avalanche, way above average. Offense taste sweet, told him make me an apple tree. Left us in the valley full of bones, this where hope found. Java, come on, man, dark sands get broke down. Riding through Evanston with Mark Quad, telling me how the crackers turn his childhood to a ghost town. Poker stop, nigga, I lay that game down. I feel his pain, cause nothing is the same now. Let my light shine like heaven through a rain cloud. Glock have a fit like my child, so bad. try to warn them niggas we bear arms like tarantulas. Them other niggas rap, I make anthems. I really see profits under this banner. Make my enemies bow down on camera. Told my design I wanted black and white like a panda. I'm better than that nigga that sunk dirty Diana. Look, I move like a Brazilian, precious cargo, spirit Asian, but I got a new semi-auto. Wave that bitch around like where's Wardo. Sleep if they won't, I cut through they Z's like I'm Zorro. Pay me for his name, so I gotta keep that steel clutch. Trust me, I'm not what you think. I squeeze till it click like Dorothy when the heels touch. The world got me dumb, I don't feel much. Ride around with Yara down, just left the state bridge. Looking for a bitch better than Baby's kid. Remember I dropped Quiet Storm, I've been gone ever since. Still in the field, fuck them niggas on the fence, yeah.
All right. Go ahead, clap it up. Shalom, Israel, Shalom, Yasharallah, in the Hebrew. We the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge started out on 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana, Precinct Officer 5000, Kasar Pakai. This is the Thursday night scripture breakdown for ISUPK Northern California. Go ahead and read what the ISUPK is about. You can find this on the website, isupk.com. When you're there, visit and pay your tithes, all right? In the ISUPK, we are educating Blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians about their true heritage, which is comprised of the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Bible. Once our people begin to follow the laws in the Bible, God or Yahweh in the Hebrew will look down from heaven and have mercy on us. He will also send Christ to free us from all oppression. Using the Bible, the ISUPK will fix all of the problems of the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian communities, turning a lawless and immoral people into a law-abiding, righteous people. The true nationality of the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians and West Indians of North, Central, and South America are the true descendants of the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And Yahweh Shai Mashiach is our King, all right, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So we're going to make this a part 2 from last week. Go ahead and continue on the topic from before. The topic from before was dealing with the Northern Kingdom and how is it that we teach that the so-called Northern Kingdom, Salakia, are the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Right. And the reason why I'm saying so-called Northern Kingdom, because once our King Yahweh Shai came and put down what he put down, all the 12 tribes are one again. Right. There is no Northern Kingdom, there is no Southern Kingdom. We one nation of people, Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. We're going to go into the Bible and see why is that we teach this and why is this the foundation of the ISUPK and what separates us from other fake Israelite groups, what separates us from other Jewish movements, so-called Jewish movements. The Commandment Keepers was one of them, where brothers in Harlem, Black brothers, were in Harlem, and they knew that they had something to do with being the children of Israel, but they went and followed the oppressors, the children of Amalek, the small hats, so-called Jewish people, and were learning underneath them and trying to copy their bastardized version of our culture. But if it wasn't for men like Abba Bivens, who the Lord was dealing with, that removed him from these type of organizations to come and start the ISUPK and raise up men like Yaquah, Moshe, Ariah, Lahab, Kazak, Yeshaya. Anyone else I'm missing? I think is that the 7? I say Yaquab, Mashah, Ariyah, Lahab, Yeshaya, Kazak, and who am I missing? Shar. Salaki. Shar, yeah. Those are the 7 men that started the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. And at one point in time, Chief Priest Ariyah had a dream and a vision that told him that the breakdown for the 12 tribes chart, right? Let's see. So how can we recap? We'll just go where we left off last week. Let's go into the Apocrypha, 2nd Ezra in the 13th chapter. Start around verse 40.
Come on, God.
Go ahead, when you
Come on, God.
all right.
Book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osea the king, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters.
Right. And so, recapping last week, we talked about King Solomon and how he fell from his glory, dealing with strange women, dealing with these heathen nations. The Lord said that his kingdom will be ripped from him. 10 tribes will be taken, and he will leave one remaining, the tribe of Judah, for himself, for King David, for his father. In the land of Judea, this is where the Judites were at, also the Benjamites and the tribe of Levi. And the tribe of Levi was not considered at this time a tribe, because a tribe had to have an inheritance or land, and Levi did not have an inheritance of land. So this is where you get the 10 northern would be including Dan, and the southern would be Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. That's 13 tribes. As time progressed, Dan was not able to grow and maintain its size as a tribe, and it got absorbed into the tribe of Manasseh. And so this is where you get that 10, and this is where you get the 12 today, including Levi, Judah, and Benjamin, along with the other 9.5 tribes of the northern kingdom, right? But this is what's being spoken about right here, that these 10 tribes were carried away into the land of Assyria. And this is something that the Assyrians were known for doing. You go and look into their culture. They were known for transplanting people from their lands and bringing them back to the center of their nation in Assyria and using them for slave labor. And they had a horrendous captivity of how they would abuse their people and how they would treat their people horribly. And one of the ways that we know how evil they were treating us is recorded in the story of Tobit. Tobit was in the Assyrian captivity, writing these things. Matter of fact, let's hold that. Let's go to Tobit chapter 1, verse 1.
Book of Tobit, chapter 1, and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
The book of the words of Tobit, son of Tobiel, the son of Ananel,
Mm-hmm.
and son of Adul, the son of Gabriel, and the seed of Asel, and the tribe of Naphtali.
Right.
Verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
Who in the time of Enemeser, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of this be which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali, in Galilee above Asher.
Right. This is in the north part of Israel, in the land of Naphtali, which would the city of Galilee, or the area of Galilee, which we know is where Christ came from, above the land of Asher. What's going on, son? No, you're gonna have to go over there and sit down. All right. It's all right, John. Go ahead. Sit down and cross your hands. Go ahead. You're all right. All right. But so this is the area. And let's read verse 3.
I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation, who came with me to Nineveh and to the land of the Assyrians.
Right. Eeyore.
Verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in my own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father, fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages.
Right. So Jerusalem, in the southern region, in Judea, is where the sacrifices were supposed to be done. This is where the temple was supposed to be built. But the northern brothers, the tribe of Naphtali, all of that tribe, they fell away and went into civil war with these brothers in the south. And this is what he's talking about right here. Keep going.
Verse 5. Now all the tribes which together revolted, and the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal.
Right. And so they started to not only separate from their brothers, which was a lack of brotherhood, the reason why there was a separation and division between this so-called northern and southern kingdom. They started to worship another god, the god of Baal. And Baal comes from ancient Babylon, ancient Assyria. This was the culture of these people. And when we started to worship their gods and their culture, it's no coincidence that we became slaves to these people. We serve their gods, we wind up serving their people. And that's the same thing that happens to us today. This is why we're trying to tell our people to wake up.
Right.
Wake up and come to this knowledge of the truth, because you're sitting here serving other nations' gods, not realizing that's forcing you to serve underneath them. It's no coincidence that Black people want to follow Buddhism, want to follow Islam, and you don't own any of the businesses in your neighborhood.
Right.
But Asians are able to come into your community and open up restaurants. Arabs are able to come into your community and open up liquor stores because you're serving their gods. The Muslim God allows you to get high and still be a Muslim. Right. The Muslim God allows you to still sell drugs and be a Muslim. The only one winning out of this situation and scenario are the Arabs, the real Muslims. You understand? But this is something that we have always had to deal with as a nation. A love for other nations and a hatred for our own.
Right.
They loved the Assyrians. They loved the Babylonians. They wanted to be like them. They wanted to serve their gods, and they hated their own brethren.
Right.
They hated their own brothers and wanted to go to war with them. And at the same time, these people don't give a damn about you and will enslave you at the drop of a dime. All right? Well, let's keep going.
Verse 6. But I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast, as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits, the tenths of increase, with that which was first shorn. And them gave I at the altar to the priests of the children of Aaron.
Right. And so this is very heavy to me. And I always, come back to the book of Tobit. I'll probably do another class in another 6 months and just get deeper and deeper into this story. The story of Tobit is a brother from the northern kingdom, so-called northern kingdom. So be a Latino brother today who went against his brothers in his tribe, his immediate tribe, to still honor what the Lord said to do. And he would still go to Jerusalem. He would still pay his tithes. He would still honor what the Lord had commanded in the book of Leviticus. And him doing something like that is something that I liken to today, to any brother that's a so-called Latino that comes into the ISUPK. Anybody that's a so-called Gadite or Reubenite or anybody from these 10 tribes that comes into the truth today, because the truth is dominated by numbers by brothers from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, etc., from what would be in the Bible, the Southern Kingdom, right? And so for them to come and worship with brothers like this, speaking Spanish as a first language, or having that as a culture, their whole life been told that they're different from Black people, from so-called Negroes, and to waking up to the truth and coming in and not being the majority is something that's very courageous, something that's very honorable, and it's biblical. And that's the same spirit that Tobit had. He didn't give a damn about the majority of everyone else in his immediate tribe. He cared about the nation of Israel as a whole. He knew we were supposed to be one body, we're supposed to be united, and all that politics and beefing of a civil war doesn't matter when it comes to serving the Lord. Doesn't matter when it comes to doing what's right. All right, let's drop down to verse 17, I believe. Let's see. Matter of fact, let's see. Yeah, let's go to verse 17.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1, verse 17. And my clothes to the naked, and if I saw any of my nation dead, or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried them. Verse 8.
Right, because at this time, this king, that was in charge, I believe he had died, and they said his son reigned in his stead, and he was even more evil than his father. And so there were people running around naked with no clothes, no shelter, and there were dead bodies throughout the streets. Keep going.
Verse 18. And if the king, Sennacherib, had slain any when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privately, slightly. And in his wrath, he killed many.
He did what?
He killed many.
Keep going.
But the bodies were not found when they were sought for of the king.
Right. So he's killing, man. Who can say that? He killed many.
Right.
You can go from hundreds to thousands of our brothers were laying in the streets. It's not like today where you have a trash man that comes through the city and picks up trash, let alone this king is wanting to leave these bodies in the road. You know what smell comes along with that. You know what type of diseases and sickness comes along with that. Rodents and all types. Zion. Hey, you have to get down. All types of pestilence comes along with dead bodies. And so for him to do that, we know he wasn't doing that in the area where they live at.
Right.
The same way today. He was doing that in the ghetto. He was doing that in the barrio, leaving these dead bodies, just like the movie Boys in the Hood. They said, you want to see a dead body? The little kids, the intro scene, they're taking some 6-7-year-olds to go find and look at a dead body on the side of a building in the middle of the ghetto. That's how it was living in the 80s. That's how it was living in the 90s. And that's how it was in the days of the Bible.
Right.
You can go see a dead body and sitting around. And there's another thing I talk about as well. I think it was called Nigger Head Road, Salakia. In Word Head Road, That's something they had in North Carolina, where they would put the heads of the runaway slaves up and down the road, or anybody that revolted. So the black people walking through could see this and be discouraged from fighting back. And that's the same thing that was going on here as well. It wasn't a coincidence that they were laying these bodies around. These were men that stood up, tried to fight back, and the king was laying them out in the streets to discourage you from revolting. Let's see, is there anything else on that?
That's it, sir, for that verse.
Okay, we can read verse 19, and that's it.
Verse 19. And when one of the Ninevites went and complained to me, to the king, that I buried him, I hid myself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death. I withdrew myself for fear.
Good night. So this brother's doing something honorable. Just burying our dead was worthy of death.
Right.
You know, that's how evil these Assyrians were. And that's the point. That's the spirit I wanted people to see of how these Assyrians were and what we got ourselves into following after these other nations. And so like, hold on one second. We back on. So let's go back to 2nd Esdras, chapter 13. We're going to read verse 40 one more time.
With the 2nd Esdras, chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in the time of Osea the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
Right, and I like this. The little things, if you pay attention, it says they which were carried away prisoners out of their own land. Like we had our own land,
right?
But we didn't understand how to keep it because we didn't want to do our own thing. They wanted to go against their brothers so bad. They hated their brothers so much. They wanted to side with a heathen nation and have dealings with them to fight against their own brother. This was their downfall. This is why they lost their own land. And this is the same thing that happens to us as well. Let's keep going.
Verse 41. Mm-hmm. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, and they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into further country where never mankind dwelt.
Right. And that's that. They took this counsel amongst themselves. They came together and had a meeting, a council. They said they start to understand. This is what happens when you go through suffering like this.
Right.
When you see your brothers hanged in the streets, bodies everywhere, working for nothing, women getting ravished, children getting sold. When you do that long enough, you start to want to get away from that captivity.
Right.
You start to want to get away. You start to think about, where did we go wrong? How did we end up in this situation? This is what happens with a lot of brothers in prison today.
Right.
They're on the streets, and it's all, damn that other brother, F him, F his family. I saw a post on Facebook. The brother said, 5 minutes of being emotional cost me 20 years of my life.
Right.
A 2-minute fight in the club, a 2-minute walk to my car to get a gun, and 30 seconds of shooting, and now I'm in this jail for the next 20, 25 years of life.
Right.
I miss my daughter's this, I miss my son's that. I wasn't there for this birth, all these things. My mother passed away. I wasn't able to go to her funeral. These things happen because of 5 minutes of being emotional. And when you're in there, what do brothers do? I'm asking you to come about. What do they start to do?
They get in prison.
Right.
They turn to serving another false idol, which is usually Islam.
Right. But in essence, they try to cry out to the Lord. You know what I mean? And so this is what happened here. People want to start praying. They want to start making oaths and saying, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start being a better person. I'm going to be there. If you can just make a way for me out of this captivity, out of this prison hellhole, then I'm going to become a better person. Now we know today we've been given these options of none of these options we've been given are to serve the true God.
Right.
But they had the knowledge of the true God at this time. And they, in spirit, were trying to be honorable and go and serve the Lord. But they were not able to do that because they needed their brothers, you know what I mean?
Right.
They needed someone to show them how to follow the law, which would be Christ. And if they knew anything about the prophecies, they would know that Christ was coming from the tribe of Judah. Right. So you can't escape and go and follow the Lord without the tribe of Levi at this time, without the Judites, the Benjamites. You understand? All right, let's keep going.
Verse 43. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood, so they were passed over.
What?
Verse 45. For though that country they was like it, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Ashereth.
It's called what?
Ashereth.
All right, I'm gonna send something to you. Quick. Let's see. Hold on, Zion. Let's see this. See if this link gets to you. Not right now. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and read that one more time while it comes to your phone.
Looks like I got you.
All right. Let's read verse 45 one more time.
Verse 45.
Mm-hmm.
For through that country there was a great way to go,
Right.
namely of a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And the same region is called Ashereth.
Right. And so to get to this land that they went where no man had dwelt, no one had lived, it took a year and a half and journeying through the waters to get to this place. So we know it was far from the Middle East and it was a land that no one had dwelt. And today, for people to try to say the tribes are Negro only, Africa was inhabited from north down to south. No scholars would say that there were no people living in South Africa. One of the oldest tribes that they say on earth, the Click people, I forget, I think they're called the the Sand people. I think they're called the Sand people in South Africa. They're one of the oldest cultures on earth, and they've been there for thousands of years, man.
Right.
You understand? So there was no place in Africa where no man had dwelt. This could only be one place, right? But let's go to that link that I sent you. You call it out.
Ashereth.
No, where is it? Where are we getting this from?
It's like the Jewish Encyclopedia.
.com, right?
.com, correct.
So this is a Jewish encyclopedia. This is recorded in what their scholars are saying. This is what these oppressors are saying in their books when it comes to Ashereth, which really is a mistransliteration of the word Aratazah, which means land. That's all it means. Aratazah means land, you know. What do we say? I think we say that in our prayers. We talk about coming to the earth, in earth as is in heaven. We say that in the Lord's Prayer. Abanawa Shabbat Shemayim Kodash Hayashimka Yahweh Malak Waka Baba'a Ratazah Kahaya Asher Ba'aratazah. You know what I'm saying? Come to this earth or this land, right? But go ahead.
The name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of restoration, according to the 4 editions, so on and so forth.
I think it's Second Ezra 13 and 40, or basically like 4. I think it's just basically saying in Second Ezra, I don't know what number they got though, but 13, I see that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the 45, verse 45. So I don't know what the first part is. 4 Ezras. They might have. I think they used to divide Ezras into 4,
Okay,
and we divided into 2 in here because we got the other book of Ezra. So 3. Something's going on with that part,
right.
but that's what I think is going on. But it's basically saying Ezra 13 and 45.
Okay.
Right.
Columbus identified America with this land.
Columbus did what?
Identified America with this land.
So Columbus had studied this Apocrypha.
Right.
He knew about this. Columbus was a Sephardic Jew. The Sephardic Jew, there's 2 main branches of Jewish people today, so-called Jewish people today, the Ashkenazis and the Sephardic. The Sephardic, or the Sephardim, were mainly living in Spain, Portugal, and North Africa. This is where they were at in this region. And at the time, Spain had been conquered by the North Africans. Hannibal, they took over, the different Muslims had taken over. And around the late 1400s, the Spanish were able to kick out these Moors, kick out these Hamites, these Africans, and take over Spain. And they had been persecuting the so-called Jewish people, or the Sephardic Jews at this time, which is where Christopher Columbus had traced his ancestry back. And so a lot of them in their mind were trying to find another land they could go to where they could escape this persecution from the Catholic Church. And so that's what Christopher Columbus, this whole lie of him going and looking for these East Indians, is not what was going on. He knew about the 10 tribes. He brought men with him that spoke Hebrew because he was on a search for this land that no man had dwelt. And he knew, and in the Bible it says the earth is separated into 6 parts. And so you go to school today, they tell you there's 7 continents, but they really dividing Europe from the rest of the Asia, when really that's just one big landmass. It's not another continent.
Right.
And so with that being said, the 6 parts, he was searching for that 6th part. And this is where he divided up the earth in distance. And he said, he figured if he sailed this way, he could reach that land and get there. So, you know, Asherah, your own people that go against us and say that these are not the 10 tribes, that the ISUBK doesn't make sense, that we're not really Israelites. Even in their books, they say that America was identified as Asherah.
Right.
All right, so that's it on that. Let's go. Anything else on this? Verse 45. Okay. Let's read verse 46.
Look at 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 46. Then dwelt they there until the latter time.
Mm-hmm.
And now when they shall begin to come.
Right, and so they're going to stay there until the latter times, to the end times. These are all the prophecies that the children of Israel will come back. The 2 sticks will become one and will be united in the latter times, in the last days. And so Christ knew about this. Everyone knew about this. That's the other precept they talk about when the Sadducees and Pharisees questioned and said, will Christ go amongst the Gentiles and go, well, how I'm paraphrasing it wrong. He said, will he go amongst the Gentiles and begin to teach the Gentiles? That's just a paraphrase of that. But they were wondering, when he said he's going to go where no one can find him, is he going to go amongst these tribes that have been scattered abroad and teach them? Because the brothers in Judea looked at our own brothers in the 12 tribes as heathens, as the other nations, because they had gone away and they had begun to serve these other gods. Let's see, we got somebody comment. He says, okay, I'm a white man. I desire to serve the Israelite king, sir. How may I do this? All right, the first thing you can do is find your nearest ISUPK camp and get on your goddamn knees and bow down and ask for apology, ask to apologize to the priests and prophets of the Lord and the children of the slaves. Next thing you can do is send in all of your money to ISUPK.com and give your money to Commanding General Yohanan.
That's right.
And if you want to do anything else after that, you can come and do free labor and work and serve the children of Israel here in ISUPK. We'll find something for you to do.
Right.
You want to really serve right now and get this captivity going. Stop it, John. Here. All right. That's what you can do. But I don't believe it. We hear this all this time. You're probably some weird old freaked out dude that got some fetish, man. We're not here to play them games. If you really want to do something, we will send you the Cash App. You can find us, man. You can find the numbers to call on ISUPK.com. You can find any number you need to call, and you can find out where you can send money to give it to the brothers here in ISUPK, man.
Right.
But other than that, if you think this is a game or a joke, the Lord's going to deal with you, and he will not have any mercy on you in any form, shape, or fashion for playing with the priests and prophets of the Lord and wasting our goddamn time.
That's right.
All right? Now let's get back to that. Chill out. All right, let's see where we're going to go. Let's go to Genesis chapter 49. And let's see, connect to this group too. Is that speaker is done? It's not charged up or anything? Yeah.
I need this charge.
Okay. Yeah, probably so. Try to connect to them. I'm gonna play something so the brothers can hear it over the speaker.
Powering on. Welcome to Alltech Lansing.
Let's see. Yours might have connected. Was your phone have connected or live?
Live.
Okay. So now I don't know why it's not connected.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. The water. So let's go to Genesis 49. We're going to read out some of these curses. Not curses. These are the things that were supposed to happen to the children of Israel when Jacob was getting ready to pass away. Jacob, the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, whose name was changed to Israel. So,
Start at verse 1.
yeah, let's go to the first one.
Oh, God. Book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
All right, so you hear these things are what's going to happen to us in the last days. So these prophecies that he's laying down have to line up in the last days. Go ahead.
Verse 2. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Verse 3. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power.
Right, the Reubenites, who we have identified as the Seminole Indians. If you know anything about the Seminole Indians, they are the only ones on record that did not concede to the United States government in warfare. They dwindled them down to small numbers and smaller numbers, but they kept fighting and kept fighting back. And so it says they had dignity and the excellency of power. And one thing about the Reubenites, you go and watch them, they would wrap up their head. They would wear head wraps. You know, they would wear how we wear our war scarves and tie them up. That's how they were rocking and rolling. And they also were in league with the tribe of Judah. And they went to war with them. You watch documentaries about the tribe of Reuben, the Seminole Indians, the so-called Seminole Indians, and it says the reason why they were so easily able to work with the so-called Negroes, the escaped slaves, is because they had a similar religious beliefs. So that's in their own documentation, their own documentaries. They were able to see from the outside looking in that these brothers worship God in a similar fashion. And that's because they were brothers, they were long lost brothers that had been separated since the days of Ezra, so we just read. All right, let's drop down to, we go through certain ones, but let's see. Let's go to Zebulon, verse 13.
Look at Genesis chapter 49, verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
Zebulon shall dwell in the haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon.
Right, so Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea. What was the haven of the sea? Is the Panama Canal down there in Central America. El Salvador, Guatemala, Panama, all these nations down there are the tribe of Zebulon, and they are a very major land known for commerce through the ships, merchant ships, so much so that they had to cut and separate the land of Panama from North and South America, so that they could send their ships through and do business instead of going all the way down through South America. They would cut through this area. All right, keep going.
Verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass crouching down between two burdens.
Keep going.
And he saw that the rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
Right, and so Issachar was a strong ass crouching down between two burdens. That's Mexico being stuck between North and South America, and that's the strong ass is the donkey. And if you see something that's very prominent in Mexican culture is the donkey or the burro. They have a festival dedicated to the donkey. You see a lot of pictures and murals painted with the donkey throughout Mexican culture, and that donkey with a satchel on him. And that's representing the work that our brothers in Issachar do and have always been known to do. Captain Kadazar was saying in his 12 tribes breakdown, he's like, man, I don't even like being on the job with Issachar because they going and doing things that I don't want to do, that I will not do. He had to tell the people, he said, hey, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Right. We don't do that. But Issachar is going to get out there and do some amazing things, man. And so that's one thing. Let's see, anything else you got too. You go ahead and drop down to verse 19.
Look at Genesis chapter 49, verse 19.
Mm-hmm.
Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last.
Right. And with these Gadite brothers, how many different nations have come to North America and taken over this land? I think that the British are the main ones because we're here in America. Hey, you need to sit down. The British with the Spaniards came over here, the French came over here, the Portuguese, all these different nations have come and they destroyed the tribe of Gad. They divided up their land. They took away their land and made it smaller It's like I think I have to find that preset. But let's keep going. Let's go to. All right, that's it on that for now. We'll go into more things about Simeon and Levi, also in different tribes in the north. But for now, let's leave this. I'm not gonna hold too much longer. Let's go to. I'm gonna play this real quick right here. I'm gonna hold that off from there. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 9. And one thing a lot of people like to say is, okay, why is there a different look when it comes to so-called Latinos and Native Americans? And when in reality, for one, when you really look at our brothers and sisters and see, besides the difference of hair texture, we really look a whole lot more similar than we do to these African nations, to these Hamite nations. Head shape, the way our noses are, all of these things you can see and tell that we're one people. But for those that don't understand genetics and want to be colorists, we have colorism in our nation because we are a slave nation of people.
Right.
You can go to Ethiopia. The Ethiopians, they have very light Ethiopians, have very dark Ethiopians, but they do not consider themselves to be a different nation of people. Right. Us in our captivity has forced us to believe in colorism, right? But let's go to Jeremiah 12 and 9.
Book of Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
My heritage is unto me as a speckled bird.
Right.
The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Come to devour.
Right. Let's see. All right. So the children of Israel have become like a speckled bird, many colors, because they have gone amongst these other nations and mixed in with these other nations. And it talks about the tribe of Ephraim. Matter of fact, let's skip over that one. Ephraim, his branches go over the wall. Let's see if I can find that real quick. I'll read it. You can stay where you're at. Where's Ephraim? Okay, we'll talk about Joseph though. But it's Genesis chapter 49, verse 22. Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well, whose branches run over the wall. And so Joseph became the father of Ephraim and Manasseh, so-called Puerto Ricans and the so-called Cubans. And it's saying his branches run over the wall. They're one very fruitful. And Kadazar was talking about his father. He said, my father has 5 children. He said some of them got pregnant through birth control. You know, they hug a sister and can get her pregnant. And so, but they also, their branches run over the wall, meaning they were chasing after heathen women. And they were dealing with heathen women. And that's the culture that, that's the spirit that these brothers had on them. And so a lot of times, the Northern Kingdom, you're going to have to go sit down, Zion. Zion, go ahead and sit down or you're going to have to be quiet. All right. And so that's what was going on. This is why they became a speckled bird, mixing throughout all these nations. All right. Now let's drop that. Let's go to the book of Hosea, the 7th chapter. Let's see what first talking should start at. Hosea 7 and verse 8.
Come. Book of Hosea, chapter 7, and verse 8.
Mhm.
Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake, not turned.
Right. So not only Ephraim is directly dealing with the tribe of Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans, but it's also talking about all of the 10 tribes in the northern kingdom, because Ephraim was the head tribe. And oftentimes you'll hear Ephraim, just like you'll hear Judah. Judah doesn't mean just only the Judites. Judah is representing the southern kingdom, the tribes of Benjamin and Levi. And Ephraim, being the head tribe of the north, was often used to talk about all of the tribes. So it says, read it one more time.
Come. Book of Hosea, chapter 7, and verse 8. Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake, not turned.
Right. He's mixed himself among the people. Zion, you're going to have to sit down, boy. All right. Go ahead. I'll pick up the reading. Let's see. So Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake, not turned. What is a cake not turned? You know, when you turn over a cake like a pancake, it's light on that one side until you turn it over, and then that's the dark side. So there's a cake that hasn't been turned. This is why you have the different variations of brothers from the so-called northern kingdom, more so than you would say from the southern kingdom. All right, let's go to Hosea chapter 8 and verse 8. I can go ahead and read it.
I got you.
All right.
Book of Hosea, chapter 8, and verse 8. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure.
Right, they chasing after these heathens. They want to be like them, want to deal with them, and now they've been taken by them, and there is no pleasure. There's no enjoyment in being a slave. Keep going.
Come. Verse 9. For they are gone up to Assyria, a wild ass alone by himself. Ephraim hath hired lovers.
Right, these lovers have turned their back on the children of Israel. You hear about that in the prophecies from, I think, Isaiah and Jeremiah. It talks about, where are your lovers at? Where are the lovers that you have sought after, and now they have no love for you? They treated you like a $2 whore. You have hired these lovers, and these lovers are abusing you. Verse 10. And I can go ahead.
Verse 10. Yea, though they have hired among the nations, now will I gather them, and they shall sorrow a little for the burden of the king of princes.
Right. They're going to be pulled out from this. Keep going.
Come. Because Ephraim have made many altars to sin. Altars shall be unto him a sin.
Right. And so it was a lot of idol worship that was going on. And this is something that's still prevalent to this day. If you know about the tribe of Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, idol worship with the Virgin Mary.
Right.
The Virgen de Guadalupe, as they say. The Santos, the saints, and all these different candles. That's something very prevalent in their culture. And it's because they made these altars then. Now they're dealing with these altars now. And altars will be a sin unto them. Let's go to Isaiah 11 and 13.
Come.
we get there, before you read that, I'm gonna go ahead and play this video real quickly.
I want to remind everybody that may not know.
This is Busta Rhymes, hip hop artist from New York. He's actually a Benjamite, so-called Jamaican that comes from New York, a hip hop legend. And he's at a concert because I guess there was some type of controversy around who started hip hop, because brothers were coming out and saying that Puerto Ricans helped start hip hop. And so this is what he has to say on it.
How the origin of hip hop was started. The origin of hip hop was started by the power of Black and Puerto Rican people. In case you needed to be reminded, a lot of motherfuckers want to turn the Jews to find our culture. A lot of motherfuckers want to try to act like they conveniently forget who fathered this shit. Black people and Puerto Rican people together, we created the greatest culture in the fucking world.
So right there, if it is not too clear online, what he's saying is that black people, excuse the language, black people in Puerto Rican people started hip hop. The power of black people and Puerto Rican together is what started hip hop. And he said they created the greatest culture on planet Earth, which we know here in the truth. Now that part is not true, but the spirit of what he's saying is very important and very crucial, and it's so biblical, Aki, because these two tribes are the head tribes in the Bible. Right. Judah leading the southern kingdom and Ephraim leading the northern kingdom. Them two together is leading the entire nation of Israel, and not only the entire nation of Israel, leading the world. Hip-hop culture is a $1 billion, $1 trillion industry. Right. So much money has been brought and created off of the backs of hip-hop, which was founded by poor Black and Puerto Rican people living in the ghetto of the Bronx. It had absolutely nothing. And you go ahead and read some of these comments. I'm gonna read some of these comments here real quick. First comment says, don't get it twisted. Black Americans and Ricans are very tight in New York City, among other states. Another one said, man, that's dope as F. Hip hop, man, a powerful force created from raw nothingness in a time when two peoples were being beaten down into the dirt and forced out of their neighborhoods with gentrification, induced fires and extreme poverty that created incredible violence. Out of all that pain, two peoples vibed together and created something beautiful that has grown to captivate the entire world. Thanks, Bus, for letting me know. And thanking Busta Rhymes for speaking on this, right? But now, let's go ahead and read what you got in Isaiah. Isaiah 11 and what, 14, I think that's it?
Book of Isaiah, chapter 11.
13. 13, so.
Verse 13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off.
Right.
Ephraim shall not envy Judah.
Right.
And Judah shall not vex Ephraim.
Right. In the last days, the envy of Ephraim, it will depart. And the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. The people that want to cause issues and division amongst these two factions is going to be over. Keep going. From Ephraim shall not envy. Start from there in the middle.
Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim.
Right. This is the kingdom of heaven. Right. That's what is being prophesied about. The day when you will see Blacks and Latinos coming together, and there won't be any issues. There won't be any war. There won't be any hatred. And hip hop just shows you a glimpse of how powerful that actually can be. How they were able to change the world for some good and some bad come out. A lot of bad come out of hip hop. You know, we're not going to sit here and romanticize it, But what I'm saying is something that was powerful when you got these two tribes back together.
Right.
Because everything else follows that. Everything else gets in line with that. And we need to realize that this spirit is biblical. You don't see that. Show me this prophecy amongst Jeffrey Epstein and Seinfeld. I always go to them names, you know, Joe Rogan, or not Joe Rogan, Seth Rogen, or any of these famous Jewish people. Where is Ephraim at? Where are they coming together at?
Right.
Where are they doing something great and leading something great like this? They don't even have the power to sway the culture like that of the world, you know.
Right.
And so this is something that, to me, just points to that. In hip hop, he said they started the greatest culture ever. In reality, we know the greatest culture is found in this Bible.
Right.
Now imagine how powerful Blacks and Latinos would be if they used this culture to lead our nation instead of the culture of hip hop.
Right.
Because the culture of hip hop, I'm sorry to hurt your feelings out there, is not a culture.
Right.
They use that word, they say it's the hip hop culture and this and that. Okay, yes, in the most small or insignificant, if anything, it's a subculture. That's more correct terms. It's a subculture. Matter of fact, Alexa, what's the definition of a culture?
As a noun, culture can have a few meanings. 1, the quality in a person or society that arises from a concern for what is regarded as excellent in arts, letters, manners, scholarly pursuits, etc. 2, that which is excellent in the arts, manners, etc. 3, a particular form or stage of civilization, as that of a certain nation or period. 4, development or improvement of the mind by education or
Alexa,
training.
stop. So it's talking, when it talks about a nation, it's talking about a nation of people. Hip hop culture is open to all nations.
Right.
They let anybody in the door. They let everybody come in and wipe their feet on the carpet of hip hop.
Right.
Edomites, Moabites, Hamites, anyone is welcome into the culture of hip hop because they don't believe that it has anything to do with a nation of people, a
Right.
bloodline, an actual specific, all right? Alexa, what is the definition of a subculture?
As a noun, subculture can have a few meanings. 1, a culture derived in this manner. 2, a group having social, economic, ethnic, or other traits distinctive enough to distinguish it from others within the same culture or society. 3, the cultural values and behavioral patterns distinctive of a particular group in a society.
Right. So that's more online. Like, this is the patterns that people have, values that they may have within a larger society. It's a subculture. You may want to do this, you may want to do that. You think breakdancing is cool, you think graffiti is cool, but there's no rules and laws to hip hop. What are the laws of hip hop? If there are any laws, who in the hell is following them? You know, there was a whole big beef in the 90s of, is this real hip hop? Is that real hip hop? This ain't hip hop culture, etc. But at the end of the day, this music has been used by our oppressors to turn around and destroy us, and they're calling it hip hop culture.
Right.
In reality, the greatest culture that exists is the one that the Lord created and gave us with these laws, statutes, and commandments.
That's right.
The people that need to follow it, now that is the key to the puzzle. You get the tribe of Ephraim, you get the tribe of Judah, you get the northern kingdom and southern kingdom back together, and Busta Rhymes, you will really see something great that you've never seen done before.
Right.
Because we have a real culture that shows our children how to be, shows our women how to be, can end gang warfare, can end drug use in our community. They use hip hop culture to promote drug use in our community.
Right.
They use hip hop culture to promote whoredom in our community. But you really take this Bible and we will end and fix all those problems and ailments in our communities. And the key to that puzzle is getting the right people to teach and lead this thing. So it's very spiritual and a big sign to show these prophecies of who we are in this Bible, that the most influential tribes to this day are Ephraim and Judah.
Right.
Right now, you can go and look up. I'll go look up one thing real quick. I can look it up on my phone on YouTube. Who is the top reggaeton? Bad Bunny. I think he might actually. Where is Bad Bunny from? Is he Puerto Rican? Bad Bunny. He didn't go on real left, just like they do with us, where they take the original music that we make and they water it down and they put these half of HOMOs in charge. But Bad Bunny is a Puerto Rican rapper, singer, songwriter, record producer. His music style is primarily defined as Latin rap and reggaeton. All right. And you go look up the numbers on YouTube. Just any video of Bad Bunny. 127 million views, 158 million views, 501 million views on one song. A few years ago, he might be slowing down. Okay, you go back a year ago, 779 million views. He had a song with Drake 4 years ago, A Judite and the Ephraimite, 1.4 billion views. You understand? Reggaeton is really the top music in the world right now, between reggaeton and this Afrobeat that's coming up. And we know where the Afrobeat stole their swag from. But they're saying a lot of these record labels are not hiring rappers or paying them high money because they want to go and get these artists from Latin America because their reach is greater now, meaning there's 1 billion people that live in Latin America, and they rather listen to this than to listen to somebody from America speaking English and identifying with that. So the point I'm saying is that these Puerto Rican brothers, reggaeton, the history on that comes from Puerto Rico. Like the tribe of Issachar listens to reggaeton. The tribe of Zebulon listens to reggaeton. The people from Colombia, everybody in Northern Kingdom follows reggaeton and follows the music that started from Puerto Rico, and vice versa, with the Judites. All the different tribes got influenced by Judah. It even says, even with reggaeton, he incorporates trap music and things that come from the Judites here in America. But there's one last thing I'll leave and we'll close out on this. Alexa, what is the population of Latin America?
I missed something. Can you say it again?
Alexa, what is the population of Latin America?
In 2020, the population of Latin America and the Caribbean was 654 million people.
Right. 654 million people live in Latin America and the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, Cuba, all the way, from Mexico all the way down, right? And they want to have this lie that they are all descendants of Spaniards. Alexa, what is the population of Spain today?
In 2023, the population of Spain is 47.5 million people.
47.5 million people. And so I looked up the history as well. It says it was about 1.8 million people immigrated from Spain to this side. Zion, put that down. Immigrated to this side of the map since the days of Columbus, right? And so only 2 million came over here. And at the time in the 1600s, Alexa, what was the population of Spain in the year 1500?
This might answer your question. The population of Spain in the year 1500 was 6 million.
So they had 6 million in Spain in the year 1500, which was like 1492 when Columbus sailed, right? 6 million has now turned into 50 million. Let's just round it up to 60. They went 10 times in Spain. They sent out 2 million of their people over here. 10 times would be 20 million people at the max. Where in the hell did this 656 million people come from? If you're trying to tell me everyone in Latin America is descendants of these 2 million people, they raped all of those women, they had children, it doesn't make any sense, man. Those people that live in Latin America are overwhelmingly the majority from Native Indian descent.
Right.
And this is something that's very heavy. We say we're trying to bring together Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, when in reality, we're only trying to bring two groups together.
Right.
We're trying to bring together so-called Blacks and Natives. That's it. It gets confused and confounded because the people in Latin America identify themselves as Latinos, because they've been brainwashed telling themselves that they're mestizos and everyone's mixed with Spanish and Spaniards and all of this. But in reality, there's no way that those 6 million people have gone 100 times. That's like, there's no other place in human history that this ever happened. That you can develop to this many people. And so it's interesting as well that we think that all the natives have been killed and gone, man. Go look at your brothers from Mexico, man. There's plenty of natives running around this place, man. The brothers from Guatemala, the brothers from Colombia. The natives are still here. They just identify as Latinos because they've been brainwashed in their captivity, man. And so that's another lie of our oppressor. And so these are the Lord's chosen people, man. Anybody that doesn't want to believe that, amen. Lord be with you. I would say something a whole lot more vulgar.
Right.
You know, if it wasn't in class and it wasn't for Command Janiana, man. But with that, unless you got anything in common you want to say, add to the class. All right. So with that, just go ahead and salute everybody. Yahweh Shem Yashai, broken thumbs to all the brothers. Yahweh Shem Allah Tam Bashim Yashai to all the sisters. All right. Class dismissed.